Our name is Ghosts Want You Dead. And like Victoria Winters, we can't think of anything new to say. Spooky, spooky, darkness, ghosts, mysteries, shadows. Hello, I'm Matthew.
And I'm Rebecca.
Rebecca, we often complain about how no time at all seems to have elapsed in Dark Shadows.
It's true.
And while we were watching this week's episodes last night, I Googled how much time is supposed to have elapsed in these first 50 episodes, and it says about 2 months.
Huh.
So maybe
I
we skip some time in the show. Maybe we only see the interesting events, and there have been like a few weeks where everything is just quiet.
Everyone's just hanging out, being spooky.
But the internet says that 2 months have
Huh.
elapsed. So what's happened so far?
In that 2 months, which has appeared more like 7 days and felt more like 1,000 years, we have met Victoria Winters, who came to be a nanny for Terrible David, who is the son of Roger, who did some
Who
shady
framed Burke
business.
Devlin for
Yeah.
manslaughter with the aid of the town drunk,
Yes.
who has a daughter who wore a wig and then didn't wear a wig and is the
And now
town
she's hot.
gossip. Also, Roger's terrible little son tried to kill him.
But then that all blew over.
It did. I think those are the broad strokes of what has happened.
Oh, also, Victoria Winters is an orphan, and
Those are major events. I don't think we've missed anything, but we might have.
we've
And
had some cast changes.
that's true. And of course, this is a common soap opera thing, and there will be more. But so far, both Sam Evans and Matthew Morgan.
I
And
loved the first Matthew and the first Sam, and I hate the new ones.
I disliked the first Sam and was indifferent towards the first Matthew, and hate the second Sam, but think he is the better actor. Like, you're supposed to hate the character,
Yeah.
and he's making me hate the character. New Matthew is a creepy creep, but that is also appropriate for the role, which we will learn more about over roughly the next 75 episodes.
Excellent.
So check back with us in 12 weeks and we'll be able to talk about that.
But that pretty much catches us up.
Yes, so
We're tuning into episode 46, where Victoria Winters reminds us that Collinwood is spooky and that it's an oceanfront property.
and also, by the by, still on sale, or
Oh,
the
yeah.
house that was the exteriors, which we posted about a while back on Instagram, that property was up for sale, and it still is. So if anybody wants to chip into our Buy Collinwood fund, please do.
But anyway,
Tell us what happened.
well, Roger is pacing the drawing room and he goes into the foyer and he gets his coat and he picks up the phone and he puts it down and he straightens his coat and he prepares to leave. But then the phone rings. It's Burke who says, "Is that you, Roger?" Like old lovers, which was some hot subtext. Burke says to meet him at Roger's office with Bill Malloy. Roger is in a state of shock and panic.
He is. I don't know if this happens now or later or both times, but he's real, like, being a little bitch about
Yeah,
it. He's all timid and snivelly.
he
All,
is.
uh,
Burke. Well, Roger goes back into the drawing room and gets a phone call out to Bill. Bill is not there, and he starts bitching at his housekeeper about not knowing where Malloy is and is just generally being a spoiled little cunt, and I really don't like Roger.
I remember saying at the time that I'm very excited for you to meet Mrs. Johnson. She is fun. I like her.
Vicky comes in is looking for a drawing that she has put down there somewhere. Roger is annoyed at her presence and asks, what does she want? When she finds the drawing, she says that David would have killed her if she didn't find it. And Roger makes a good joke about how he might kill her regardless, or that David might kill her regardless, which is funny.
It was fun. Vicky is trying to be encouraging to Roger about David's artistic ability and like maybe this is a way that she can reach him and make him stop being a little dick.
Yeah, she's trying to show Roger the picture, and he has no interest, and she's trying to child psychology at Roger, and he could really just give a fuck.
He's being real dramatic about
Yes.
it, but he does eventually look at the drawing, and it is of, speaking of the exterior of Collinwood, that's what the drawing is, and Roger does admit that he did a pretty decent job. So Vicky mentions that she has a plan to introduce David to a real artist, that real artist being miserable old Sam, and Roger is naturally upset, which, fair, I would be mad if you wanted to introduce a child of mine to Sam.
Sure.
Vicky asks Roger if there's any particular reason why David shouldn't meet Sam, and personally, like I said, I can think of a few because he's an awful old pickled pretentious jerk. Who would want to meet him? Nobody. Except Becca.
Well, the first one, I've got this one. This one gives me the creeps.
Over at Sam's house, he is surprise drunk, and Bill is yelling and banging on the door. Sam eventually lets him in, and he tells Sam about how the Manslaughter Club is going to meet up at Roger's office at 11. And Bill is overplaying it a bit here and throughout the episode, just a yelling and a growling and getting louder and louder and madder and
Was
madder.
hamming it up the whole time. It was pretty great.
And Sam is protesting and trying to chicken out of going to the Manslaughter Club meeting. Bill yells some more, and Sam tries to throw him out, and they argue about Bill telling Burke what Sam said when he was drunk. Sam is worried about getting destroyed. You're trying to destroy me, and it always tickles me when they threaten to destroy one another. And Bill really aggressively pokes Sam in the chest, and it made me giggle. But he reiterates that Sam must be at Roger's office at 11, and he leaves. Sam gives the camera crazy eyes and talks to himself and breaks a paintbrush, and it was stupid and funny.
Bill kept saying 11 o'clock sharp and like just screaming.
Back in the drawing room at Collinwood, Roger is explaining to Vicky that Sam is the town drunk and a mean one at that. He
Roger
mentions he knows some other artists that they could introduce the kid to, and they argue.
She's annoyed because Maggie's the first person to be nice to her and invite her over, and she snarks at him a little bit, and he says, "Don't be rude." She apologizes if she was rude, but says that it all feels a little ridiculous. She just wants to go make friends.
She asks if there's any other possible reason why she shouldn't talk to Sam, and the music gets real tense as he refuses to tell her the actual reason. So she leaves the room and Roger makes another phone call. I guess Vicky is still in the foyer, so it's Bill knocking on the
He's
door.
banging on the door, and he says, "I want to see Roger Collins." And
He
Bill says,
yells a bunch and he's
"Yeah."
real short with Vicky and demands that she go get Roger right now or he's gonna.
She's about to, but Vicky has also caught Maggie's gossip curiosity and is asking Bill about Sam Evans now before she goes to get Roger. He says he might learn the answer to that tonight and is all cryptic. Roger comes out and Bill says that he's got a special invitation just for you and is just yelling at him and being wild. And
Roger calls Bill into the drawing room like he's in trouble, which is often the function of the drawing room. Roger or Liz drag someone in there to yell at them.
yes,
And unsurprisingly, they yell way too much. Roger is threatening to get Bill fired, and then he gets all snivelly and scared when he realizes that Sam is coming to the Manslaughter Club meeting as well. Bill accuses Roger of said manslaughtering. He denies it. Bill, again, is really hamming it up here. We think we know why, but we can't say just yet, so we'll tell you later.
Yes,
Now Roger accuses Bill of trying to destroy him, and Bill points out, "Oh, Sam said the same thing."
I do feel like we should start using that more in our daily conversations. "You're trying to destroy me," like if you forget to put the coffee creamer back or something. Bill kind of taunts him about the whole ordeal, and I did enjoy that. He was sort of gloating at Roger's uncomfortable worry.
Roger finally gets even more snivelly, but basically admits to it. And he's like, "So what if I did frame him? He already spent 5 years in jail. What does it matter now?" And Bill explains that he's not going to let Liz pay for Roger's crimes.
Yeah.
So Roger says, "Well, Sam isn't going to show up to Manslaughter Club. He doesn't have anything to say, and Liz will never forgive you." Bill is like, "Well, yeah, maybe, but either way, we're gonna put an end to this." And he does give Roger a chance to turn himself in, but he refuses. The clock chimes 10:15 for no reason. This clock has never before chimed every 15 minutes.
But it does
But it's
tonight.
important for these couple of episodes that we know what time everything happens because we're gonna be going over and over and over the details for, like, the next 20 episodes.
Pretty much.
And so it's 10:15, and at precisely 10:15, Vicky walks in to Roger on the phone with someone. She's confronting him about Sam being the creep that she met up on the cliff on her first day, and how that creep was looking for you. So there's something going on between you two, and you're trying to prevent me from talking to him because he knows something about my past.
Which Roger just starts cackling at her and laughing and being a belittling jerk because it has nothing to do with that. And he says that he's a drunk and he knows nothing. And she says she's going to talk to him one way or the other. And Roger kind of laughs to himself as she leaves, like about her past. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with my whole little world? Because I'm the king of the castle, king of the castle.
And he makes a real silly face and pours another drink and downs it before grabbing his coat. And then we cut to the clock again very pointedly to show us that he's leaving 20 minutes earlier than he needs to for the meeting. Because when Bill was still there, he outlined, "We're meeting at your office at 11, and it takes you exactly 10 minutes to get there from your house, so you should leave at 10:50."
There's a
As
lot of
though
math in this
you don't
episode.
know that because this is your house and that's where you work.
Yeah, there's a lot of
But
math in
we
this episode.
know that Roger only needs 10 minutes to get to the Manslaughter Club meeting at his office, but we zoom in for a long time on the clock to show us, well, it's like 10:25. Why is he leaving now? And then he exits. Over at Roger's office, Sam enters the dark office to find Burke waiting. Roger arrives next and wonders where Bill is. It's 11:02 at this point, also a convenient clock in the office. They all make silly faces at each other. End credits.
Episode 47.
Victoria Winters wants us to know that it's the beginning of the end of the world at Collinwood, and also still creepy. Carolyn descends the stairs in a nightgown to melancholy piano music, and her hair is dumb. She has a headband.
Well, she's got her bangs she got in Bangor because Burke wouldn't bang her.
Say
And
that 5 times fast. Carolyn enters the drawing room to find Liz looking hot, playing the piano and staring sadly. We like it when Liz has her hair down and
yeah,
she's in a nice robe, and
she looks very beautiful and melancholy, and I love her.
Carolyn is teasing her, asking her if this is the late concert, and she jokes that the neighbors have been complaining, but then encourages her to play more. She teases her about the approaching witching hour, and Liz proclaims a feeling of impending disaster.
I was like, "Girl, same. I feel that. Have you tried eating a grilled cheese sandwich?" Enough's me.
Then the doorbell rings. Opening credits. Liz goes to make a phone call, which she does a lot of, as we have remarked on in recent episodes. But to be fair, she has been locked up in her house for 18 years.
Yeah.
So, with that being her only entry to the outside world, of course, she's on the phone a lot. But whoever she's calling doesn't answer. Carolyn asks who she was trying to call at nearly 11:30 because it's real important we know what time it is, and Liz says that it was Bill about business. Carolyn asks if she's worried that something has happened to him since he was acting weird earlier and they argued. Liz is trying to explain it all away and is like, oh, it's just about work or whatever.
Right.
Carolyn asks if this has anything to do with Roger, and Liz gets defensive and asks, well, why would you ask that? Like, as though that's not giving the game away.
Right.
Carolyn
Carolyn.
explains to Liz about her argument with Roger over the pen earlier, but conveniently doesn't mention where she got the pen.
Yes.
She does say that Roger was being weird about people sometimes having to do terrible things to protect themselves and saying that he refuses to be anyone's sacrificial lamb. Liz freaks out and goes upstairs to talk to Roger. The clock strikes 11:30 with a close up on the clock. Back in Roger's office, Bill has still not arrived to the meeting of Manslaughter Club that he has called.
Yeah, no one
Walt
can get a hold of him.
and the three other Manslaughter Club members are trying to reach him and can't. Sam starts to get up to leave, assuming he's not coming, but Burke stops him. They start to talk about the manslaughtering.
Sam and Roger are evasive, and Burke tries to pin them down to the point and says they knew he was innocent, but neither will fess up. And so Burke tries to call Bill again.
Yeah, after they deny everything, he tries to call Bill again, doesn't get an answer, and so he leaves to go to Bill's house, which is also conveniently very nearby, and he demands that the other two stay put while he goes to check the house, and the music gets tense again. Back at Collinwood, Liz comes back down to tell Carolyn that Roger was not upstairs. Carolyn has made tea, but Liz doesn't want any, which has been happening these last few episodes. Everybody always trying to make Liz tea that she doesn't want, and that's fun.
They're just like, here, this will
You're an old lady, you'll like
you'll like
this.
tea. I want someone to make me tea. I would drink it.
I can make you some tea.
It's fine. I'll have
You're already
I'm
drinking
drinking
coffee that I
coffee.
made.
She tells Carolyn to go to bed again.
Carolyn is just trying to distract her and or cheer her up, but Liz is chilly and Carolyn jokes that it's the chill of doom and her Liz gets mad and doesn't like that
Yeah,
and
she's
tries
like,
to send her
"Fucking
back upstairs.
yeah."
Back at Roger's office, Roger and Sam are still going back and forth about the same old shit, and Sam is acting suspicious, so Roger accuses Sam of having done something to Bill since he still hasn't showed up. Sam then kind of threatens to kill Roger. Burke returns while Roger is trying to get Sam to continue denying framing Burke for the manslaughtering. Nobody was answering the door at Bill's, he says, but his car was there, so Burke insists that they continue to wait. It is 11:40. They wait. They look bored. Roger and Sam start to try and leave again, and Burke protests again. Roger and Sam deny again being in cahoots.
Roger is snide and tries to return the pen that he took from Carolyn to Burke,
But it's
but
not in his
he doesn't
pocket.
have it on him.
So he says he'll return it later.
And then Burke tries to call Bill again, and it's just rinse, repeat,
Yes.
quite a bit of that.
That is a soap opera thing.
Yeah,
We should just get used to
I know.
it. We still have like 1,050 episodes left, so
Well, we'll
buckle
buckle
in.
in. Back in the drawing room, Carolyn and Liz laugh together and are having a sweet mother-daughter moment. I really enjoyed their relationship.
They were joking about how when Carolyn was little, her classmates would call the house on Halloween to talk to the ghosts. And Carolyn lovingly calls Liz a kook, and they're having a nice time, and it's nice.
It's sweet. Yeah.
But Liz tries to send her upstairs again, but Liz insists that she's going to wait up for Roger as long as it takes. Carolyn exits as the clock strikes midnight. Liz looks dramatically near the window, but not out the window. Maybe that's the new thing. Maybe the director was like, "You guys are looking out the window dramatically too much. Try looking dramatically near the window." Anyway, Roger enters to pour a drink, and Liz sneaks up behind him, demanding to know where he was. He says it was a business meeting that shouldn't concern her. She asks, well, was it with Bill? And he asks why, when she explains that she's been trying to reach him all evening, and also earlier today, Bill had come by to say that Roger framed Burke for the manslaughtering. She asks for the truth. He says, well, I was responsible for him going to jail because of my testimony, which was all true, and you just ask the judge and the jury. He says he's happy to answer any questions that she and Bill might have for him later, but right now it's late and she should go to bed. And she does. She's awfully obedient when Roger orders her to do things, considering how often she has asserted that, bitch, it's my house and my company and my money and we do things my way. But as soon as he's like, go to bed, she does.
Yeah. Wow. After sending her up to bed, drinks his nightcap
And
and
looks real worried.
yeah.
End credits.
Episode 48, Victoria Winters reminds us it's spooky at Collinwood and that she can't remember how long she's been at Collinwood. And
I
I
think
was
that
like,
is where
girl,
this is when I
was
looked
that when
up
you
how
looked it
long
up?
it has been, and
I
we
was
did
like,
joke about it at the time. Like,
yeah, like,
it's been 2 weeks.
right. So her time distortion is no joke, but she's experiencing it along with us. So at least I feel a little better.
David is milling about his room, looking sullen, when Vicky knocks and enters to return his drawing. He's mad that she took it and refuses her praise when she talks about how good it is. She says she wants to show it to a real artist, and he's clearly a little excited about that. He's like, well, that'd be okay, but you probably don't know any artists.
Yeah.
You're a poor.
Then he sees that she's smudged it and she says that she'll fix it and he's like, "No, I'll handle that." And he fixes his little drawing and
He's mad when he finds out she showed it to Roger and dramatically rips it up.
she asks why he ripped it up and he says, "'Cause I wanted to." And he's mad she showed it to him and that he says he hates him and
He
wishes
doesn't
she
care what Roger thinks about his drawing or anything, and he hates him.
I
And
hate you too. And
he won't let it go. He brings up, well, remember when I took your letter from your room and you called me a thief and tried to get me in trouble? How is this different, bitch? You took
yeah,
something from my
which I
room.
mean,
And
fair
he's
lives into
not
the corn.
wrong
Fair.
there. And she says it's different, and it is different because he's a creepy little sneak, and she was just trying to make his daddy proud of him. So
And she's kinda done with him at this point and just sorta snaps back at him to sit down and do the schoolwork they're trying to do, and he
he
says he hates her as much as he hates Roger, and
and he's never going to forget how she got him in trouble, and she can tell Liz if she wants. Cue Liz entering to be
tell me
like,
what, fucker? What is this little shit going on about now?
but Vicky lies for David and pretends they were just arguing about schoolwork. Well, Liz has come to deliver a present that has arrived in the post for David, and it's a crystal ball from Burke. Liz is like, "Oh, that's freaking weird."
Right.
But David is thrilled, and Vicky is into it too. She's like, "Oh, that's cool. Let me see." And Liz is not sure that he should be allowed to keep it since Burke is not a friend of the family. But David begs, and Liz relents and lets him go call Burke to say thank you. Liz remarks that it's too bad that David should be so fond of a man who hates his father, and then we pause for a music sting to be like, or that might be his
Dun,
father.
dun. But also, like, they both hate his father.
On the phone, David tells Burke that the drawing of Collinwood that he tore up was for Burke.
And he likes his crystal ball very much and was just very cheerful to talk to Burke.
And they end the call, and a knock at the door produces Dreamy Joe. And he seems to get along okay with David. David is showing off his new toy, and Joe is being kind of dismissive, but at least a little bit nice about it. And Liz comes down and is surprised to see Joe with contracts for her to sign because Joe is just like a lowly guy on the fishing boats at work, I think.
Yeah.
What's he doing business for? And David insists that his crystal ball is not a toy. In the drawing room, Joe tells Liz that, well, the reason he's brought the contracts is that Bill hasn't been to work all day and he didn't call and he isn't at his house, and Mrs. Johnson, his housekeeper, hasn't seen him since 10:30 last night. She showed up at 6 in the morning to make breakfast and he never came down, so she checked, and also his bed hadn't been slept in, so everybody's concerned. Liz calls Mrs. Johnson to ask if Bill had said anything about taking a trip to go visit cousins that live out of town and don't have a telephone. Asks Mrs. Johnson to call her as soon as she hears anything. Liz then sends Joe to ask around about Bill.
And she says they should call the hospitals, and she's very visibly worried at this point.
Vicky butts in to tell Liz that, oh, you're talking about Bill? Well, I saw him here last night, right around 10 o'clock, fighting with Roger.
It's like, "Oh, you
And
don't say."
this is contrary to what Roger said, because earlier when he and Liz were talking, she asks, well, have you seen Bill? And he says, oh, not since the office this morning or something. So he is caught in his lie. Vicky says that Bill arrived a little before 10 and was desperate to see Roger, and then they argued and went to fight some more in the drawing room, and there was something about a meeting. Liz is worried. In the foyer, Joe is regarding a painting as David spookily announces from upstairs off screen that the crystal ball has something to say. He's like, the crystal ball has spoken.
It was very cute.
Joe asks if Carolyn is at home, and David consults the crystal ball, which tells him that Carolyn went into town. Joe teases David about being a phony, so David gets his petty little revenge and says, oh, what's that I'm seeing in the crystal ball now? It's that my cousin will never marry you and she's gonna marry Burke Devlin instead. And then he runs away.
Joe is pissed, and when Vicky comes down, he
David runs away, and Liz comes back to sign the contract that Joe is waiting on. And as David and Vicky go back upstairs,
Joe is pissed and tells Vicky to go spank David or whatever. I forget exactly what he said, but
he says, give him a swat for him.
yes. Liz signs the documents and then calls Roger's office. She says she'd like to see him at once and tells Roger she knows he lied about seeing Bill
She doesn't want to talk about it on
on the
the phone,
phone.
but then she does. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I know you lied, so come home and talk to me about it.
Back upstairs, David is gazing into his crystal ball, and Vicky's trying to get him to do some math. And he is asking her about Mr. Malloy.
Well, he sits down to do his math problems, but then immediately is like, I don't want to do this. So he changes the subject to Malloy. And why everybody's looking for him. And David says, well, they ought to just ask me because I know, because I saw in the crystal ball. And Vicky is annoyed but plays along and is like, sure, David, I'll bite.
What do
Go
you
ahead
say?
and
Yeah.
say what you're trying to say. And David says that Malloy is dead and he was murdered by Roger. End credits.
Dun, dun, dun.
Episode 49, Victoria Winters lets us know that Collinwood is creepy, but for new reasons now. At the restaurant, Maggie is on the phone with Sam, saying that no, she hasn't seen Bill. Burke enters as she ends the call, and he orders breakfast, also asking if she's seen Bill. And she tells him Carolyn, Sam, and now Burke have all asked about Bill, so what's going on? He's not the kind of guy to be unavailable. Burke is worried. He's curious about how Sam sounded when asking about Bill, and we get the impression that Burke is a little bit suspicious of Sam and thinks maybe he killed Bill. Ah, Kit
Kill
Bill.
Bill.
Joe enters and orders a donut and a coffee, and also asks about Bill. Burke grills Joe about the search for Bill, and Joe is being a dick, but it's understandable because Burke is stringing along his would-be fiancé. Carolyn also enters as things are getting tense, but she's being cheerful in the face of them hating each other. And after Burke rushes out, Carolyn agrees to the consolation prize of having coffee with Joe after who she really wanted to see
Right.
leaves. Over at the Evanses, Burke arrives and demands coffee. Sam looks annoyed while Burke grills him about Bill's whereabouts. Burke straight out says that he suspects that Sam or Roger did something to Bill and they're the only people who would have anything to gain from it. Sam suggests, well, maybe Bill just realized he'd made a mistake, but Burke points out, like, well, I've known Bill for 20 some years, and if that were the case, he would have still showed up and said, sorry, guys, I was wrong. Back over at the restaurant, Joe and Carolyn are arguing about Burke, like, seems to be the only basis of their relationship is arguing about Burke.
Yeah, they're
Maggie,
pissy, but then do a cute thing. Or wait,
well,
no.
Maggie butts in, and Carolyn is like, bitch, we are talking here. This does not involve you.
Well, and
But Maggie gets involved in lots of things.
she does, and she's feeling kind of pissy about her dad and asks Carolyn to watch the shop so she can go check on him because now she's worried that everyone's looking for Bill and she's wondering what
Maybe
might
she
be going
also thinks
on.
that Sam killed Bill.
Right.
Go ahead.
Carolyn, who has had car trouble this morning, says that when her car is fixed, she's out of there. And Maggie's just like, well, fucking tell them to help themselves and kind of storms off. She's done with Carolyn and her business for the morning. Then Joe and Carolyn are kind of pissy with each other still, but then do a cute thing and start laughing together.
Yeah, they're fighting and say real dramatic, what sounds like relationship ending things to each other, and then immediately both start laughing.
Yeah,
And it
just
is
like
funny.
cut a face and then laugh. And
He proposes and she declines, and Joe tells her about David's psychic prediction, and Carolyn is stoked but trying to hide it. She's like, "Oh, really?" But also like, "No, no, no, no.
No,
Be
no,
cool. Be
be cool.
cool."
And she's like batting her eyelashes, but like you see the wheels turning, and she's like,
That couldn't possibly be
yeah.
true, but she really wants it to be.
And then she
And
just says something sort of just to dismiss the whole thing.
well, what she says is, I just don't like the idea of a crystal ball deciding my future. But
Right.
what her face and body language say are, oh, really? I would like that very much. Tell me
Yeah.
more, Joe. She's not fooling anybody. Back at Sam's, would you believe he's pouring another drink? And Burke tells him that's not going to solve your problems. Burke continues to badger him about how he knows either he or Roger did something to Bill. Sam says he also liked Bill, but Burke calls him on the fact, like, what do you mean liked? Past tense? Like what? Is he dead? Did you kill him?
Right.
And they are yelling at each other as Maggie enters, and her ears perk up because she's always in everybody's business.
Oh, Maggie.
Burke leaves dramatically and says he's going fishing, but fishing for evidence that Sam killed Bill. Carolyn and Joe arrive back at Collinwood, and she's annoyed about her car and about the fact that she's with Joe and not Burke. Joe says he loves her, and she says he's an idiot, and she's admitting that she's awful. And as admitting that she's awful, continues to string him along, like, yeah, I really don't want to marry you, but
But hold me.
let's make out a little bit. And they do, but are interrupted by a knock at the door, and Joe is cute because Carolyn's like, "Oh, it's the door," and he's like, "I don't hear anything," and continues trying to make out. She goes to answer the door, and surprise, it's Burke. And Carolyn's like, "Thank you, Jesus." But he's not there for Carolyn to marry her. He is there for Roger
To yell at him.
and then maybe marry him. Joe and Burke wait in the foyer as Carolyn goes to try and find Roger. Burke teases Joe about marrying into the spooky family and is he gonna live in the spooky house? Carolyn returns to say that Roger is not home and maybe Burke should try the office, but he already has and he's not there either, so Burke leaves dramatically. Back at the Evanses is Maggie is filling Sam in on all the Malloy gossip from the restaurant and how Carolyn and Joe were fighting about it. And Maggie wants to know how Sam knew that Bill was missing. And he screams at her again for prying. Second Sam, I think, goes a little overboard in the yelling at Maggie.
He
When
does.
first Sam yelled at her, it seemed more like he was just a mean old man. But when second Sam yells at her, I am worried for Maggie's safety.
I think
I'm
that's
like, Maggie, do you need help?
well, and so this is kind of my feelings on this Sam Evans because I know you didn't like the first one, but it genuinely seemed like he was just kind of probably, like the story goes, a nice guy, a good father, a loving person, and just, living his life. And he got caught up in this bullshit, got depressed, and he started drinking and is now, you know, short-tempered and grumbly and depressed and Werner Herzog dramatic all the time. But that fit with the idea that he was
Herzog,
Herzog.
not
Sorry.
Herzog.
Herzog. Well, hot dog. He did a better job of coming across that way. This one seems
He is
abusive
threatening when
and
he yells.
yeah, no, he's scary and, like, I don't buy him ever being a good person. I view him as a angry, abusive man, and I mean, sure, alcoholism, can bring out horrible things in a person, but it just doesn't I don't like it as much, and that's my feeling on it is he is too abusive and angry and toxic, whereas the other Sam was just kind of a galoot that got caught up in a bunch of shit that he shouldn't have.
He also looked old enough to be Liz and Roger's dad.
Yeah,
So
I guess.
uh, he has been screaming at her, and she continues to ask, "Well, what is it that ties you to Roger and Burke?" And then he starts ignoring her like a child and talking to himself about his paintings. And
Maggie just looks distraught at
she starts to leave all defeated and gives a sad parting line.
where are we all going?
She leaves with a sad look over her shoulder.
After she's gone, horrible old Sam says to himself, "Towards death, Maggie darling, towards death."
God, he sucks. He throws paint on the canvas he was working on dramatically
Which
in
is Burke's
credits.
face, and it's
but not good. Like,
No,
the
like
sketch of
Frankenstein.
the
Like
sketch of Burke that he had done was really, like, photorealistic
yeah.
good, and the painting looks like a caricature that you would get at a school carnival.
Yeah, it's bad.
End credits.
Epis
Episode 50.
Victoria Winters tells us that it is
It
a nightmare. Y
did
just
she say that it's a
She said
nightmare?
something about it being a nightmare. I just that's what I wrote, so and
I
that it's spooky and restless.
I didn't catch that. I remember her saying it's dark and mysterious and restless and other spooky adjectives at Collinwood. And so she goes out for a walk to the cliffs and is surprised to find Carolyn there. Carolyn, kind of bitchily is like, "Yeah, I was trying to have some alone time," but Carolyn talks about the suicides and the ghosts and ooh, opening credits. Carolyn is going on about the ghosts, but Vicky tries to rationalize Carolyn's mental illness and is like, maybe you're not talking about ghosts so much as you're talking about your boy craziness and mistreatment of Joe and your fear that you're going to turn into your creepy old shut-in mother, and maybe that's the ghost that's bothering you. So Carolyn doesn't like that and changes the subject to Bill. And then back to ghosts, then back to feeling sorry for herself. And they talk about her boy problems, and the wind howls. Ooh, when they look over the cliff.
Vicky does not like the spooky wind at all. She's not having it, and she's understandably creeped out by the widows, although she believes it to be wind, not the widows, but Carolyn's all, "It's the widows. They're saying, 'Help me.'"
And then Carolyn wonders if she is also going to end up a sad Collinwood ghost. In the drawing room, David is scared and can't sleep and wants Liz to help. He wants to stay downstairs and she
He said, "There are things in my room." Like, things. It was a very, like, nondescript, spooky things.
Liz doesn't want to be bothered and is trying to get David to go back upstairs, and he's being manipulative and like, you must not really love me because you won't entertain me while I can't sleep. And then he runs away. And Liz, of course, goes to make a phone call.
The
They're
girls
all,
come in. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they all seem to have their assigned stage business. With Roger and Sam, it's pouring drinks. Liz makes phone
Yes.
calls.
Carolyn makes tea.
Yeah. Then Vicky and Carolyn return, say they'd met out on the cliffs, but now they've come back to go to bed. Later, Carolyn is struggling through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on the piano as Vicky enters. The phone rings and Carolyn is visibly disappointed when it's Joe, but then she's all lovey-dovey on the phone anyway and switches into the "I'm manipulating you" voice.
Yeah.
Liz enters to stare dramatically out the window this time. That director can't stop her. She's gonna look
She's gonna
dramatically out
do
that
it.
window. She's upset that Roger isn't back yet, and Liz tries to call the office again, but no one answers.
Vicky offers her some tea.
And again, she's like,
Yeah. She's like,
"Stop with the
stop with
tea.
the
Nobody
tea."
wants tea." Carolyn starts in on another ghost story, which Liz shuts down immediately, and Carolyn is chastised and regretful, so she runs away to bed.
As she goes
And
off crying.
Liz returns to stare dramatically out the window again, and then immediately tells Vicky the story that she prevented Carolyn from telling and made
Yeah,
her feel bad, but now
right.
she's like, "But I'll tell you anyway." Uh,
And it's just about all the suicides and the women throwing themselves off the cliff.
yeah, I think
There
we've
is
heard this in like the first 5
yeah,
episodes, but
the
two
legend.
people have jumped from the cliff. and it is rumored that a third is destined to do so. Yeah, I think very early on, either Carolyn or David tells Vicky, "You must be the third person that's
Yeah.
gonna fall off the cliff."
Even Burke was talking about that with the little governess business.
Who can say? But
Yeah.
Roger enters and is being performatively casual as Liz lays into him about having gone missing for the day. And she's like, "I called you at like 11 o'clock this morning and said, come home right now. And here it is late at night, and you're just now turning up." And he continues to be annoyingly casual about it and is like, "Well, I'm hungry. I'm going to go grab a sandwich."
Yeah.
Liz paces and then finally resolves herself to just sit in the drawing room and wait for him. Vicky goes upstairs to find "death" scrawled in all caps in childish handwriting on her mirror.
She goes right in and wakes David up and accuses him because she assumes he wrote it, and he says he didn't do it and refuses and says he was trying to sleep, and he's just like, "I was trying to sleep," but he won't clean it up, saying that it was the widows that must have been.
He continues to deny it and says that he was being menaced by ghosts earlier, so it must have been the ghosts.
He
Vicky
finally
says, "Well, funny that the ghosts have your exact handwriting."
Yeah, that was funny.
So when Vicky threatens to tell Liz, he gives in and cleans up the defaced mirror. And then he goes off back to bed, but not
Carolyn
not before saying, "Yeah, I cleaned it up so you wouldn't tell on me, but
I didn't
I didn't do it. It really
Right.
was the ghost." And it probably really was the
Yeah,
ghosts,
I
but
mean
we won't believe that for another mini episodes. While Carolyn was Carolyn already
No,
there? But
Carolyn comes in
Carolyn comes in
because she's missing her
before he
watch.
erases the thing on the
Oh,
like,
yeah.
she
She
sees
comes
it.
in the middle of that, yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
she's
has lost her watch and wants Vicky to go back out to look for it with her, and she agrees.
Roger is being a smarmy asshole
Down in the
and
drawing room.
down in the drawing room, and Liz pushes more about Bill, and
Roger is more interested in his late supper and is like, "This chicken sandwich is good."
delicious.
He explains to Liz that, "Well, you couldn't get a hold of me because I drove out to Bill's cousin's house to see if he was there." And she calls him out on lying about seeing Bill the night before. Roger is pissed and starts to get in her face about it and wants to know who snitched. Like, it must have been Vicky. Uh,
Yeah, he's clearly mad that Vicky overheard and told on him.
he insists that it was a business matter that they were arguing about and lies and says that, "Well, I fucked up something at work and Bill was yelling at me about it because I had messed up some billing on an account." But then when Liz asks what account, he can't answer. And Carolyn enters to look for her watch, and Roger is thrilled, like, "Oh, yes, you come in
Yes.
and keep this from happening." Roger sends Liz to bed again, and she goes because she just does whatever Roger says. Vicky and Carolyn make their exit to go back to the cliff. Liz runs into David on the stairs when told that Vicky and Carolyn were going to look for the watch. He says, "Well,
Well,
they're
they're
not
not gonna
going to find
find
a
a
watch.
watch.
Vicky's going to find
Death.
death, not a wristwatch." Cut to Vicky screaming on the cliff and a body on the rocks down below.
And
Who
the
could it be?
dun,
End
dun, dun.
credits. Oh, so how do you feel about these ones?
It's been good. I like the mystery. I'm sad that Bill is probably dead. Like that's it looked like Bill. It was a big, big manly corpse. I am sad
Oh,
Bill is gone,
who do you
probably.
think killed Bill?
Oh yeah, Kill Bill.
We'll just say spoiler, oh, Bill is dead.
Bill's dead.
I think we find out in 51 that the
Yeah.
body was Bill.
I mean, it was very clearly Bill.
Yeah.
So,
That
and
they've been saying for the last 5 episodes. Somebody must have done something to Bill. Not like Bill to wander
where's
off like
Bill? Yeah.
this.
Well, first off, I want to say that I am sad because I love Bill and he is a solid guy. And
But I do think now that we have admitted that we know he is dead. That explains his horrible overacting these last
Yes, he
couple
was
of
hamming it
episodes.
up.
It's like, well,
Yeah.
I've been killed off, so I'm just gonna act a fool.
I'm just gonna go out with the blaze of glory. 11 o'clock sharp. He was just growling and hissing and just it was wild. It was wild to watch. If you guys are watching along, it is a treat. So at first I thought that maybe Sam did because I think he was one of the first people to speak of it in past tense, and maybe he knows that Roger did something, but I think it was Roger.
Well, they
And I
seem to be setting it up that it was Sam. Like, they make it look like it. Pattern recognition and all
Yeah.
that, and like, oh, well, that's the red herring because
Exactly.
they're trying
That's
to
the thing
make
is
it
it looks
seem.
like it's or it's looked like it's Sam, but really it's gonna be Roger. But I also just psychologically, from the profiles of the people, I don't see Sam as a killer. Now I do say, like we were just saying, his new actor, I don't know why I said it that way. His new actor tends to be more violent in nature, so maybe, but I definitely think that it was Roger with the pen in the
Well,
cliffs,
I would say
and I think when we find the
Roger
pen.
is only an accidental murderer that's been established. So
Sure.
I don't think Roger is particularly violent either
Because he is
because
kind of a
he's a
puss, like,
pretty
he's
little
yeah, like,
dandy.
he is a dandy.
Not that prissy little dandies can't kill you because they can and should. I don't know that I believe that Roger has on purpose murder in him either at this point.
Well, and that was something I was going to say is they're setting it up to be either of them, but maybe there's a secret third option.
Or it could have been Carolyn. She was discovered by herself out on the cliff.
It's
Speaking of spoilers for the Tim Burton Dark Shadows that we're never going to watch,
Ugh.
but I happened to catch online somewhere in the movie, Carolyn is one of those little girl actresses. It's either like Chloe Grace Moritz or a Fanning
Huh.
or one of them.
Yeah.
But also in the movie, she's a werewolf.
Oh, no.
And I thought you would get a kick out of that.
Our Carolyn as a werewolf would be darling. Just wolves
Because
are horny
60s
and
production value, she would just have like
have
a
little
little
ears.
headband with ears.
Yeah, that'd be great. Ah, woo. Perk.
Now
So
we're
fuck that
gonna be
production.
wondering who killed Bill for another mini episodes.
Yes.
We're
They
only mean to Dark Shadows because we love it.
yeah.
We would appreciate ratings and reviews on whatever platform you're listening on.
Yes, and if you're enjoying us, please come follow us on social media. We post fairly regularly and it's fun. You can find us on Instagram at Ghosts Want You Dead, also TikTok.
We are on TikTok, but we have posted exactly one TikTok
We
because
are.
my husband said he would do it, but unless I nag him to death about it, and I just haven't had the energy. And maybe there will be more TikToks in the future, but if you're a TikTok person, which, let's be honest, if you're listening to a podcast about a soap opera from 1966, you're probably not a TikTok person. Should you defy the odds, we are GWYD Podcast on TikTok. And maybe I'll try and post some things on there. We'll do like you talked about and do some podcast clips over video from the show. I
All
want
right.
these headphones off now, so
Okay. Good night and goodbye.
we are done.